This is a layout of my Christmas village tree, and let's kind of start from the bottom and work our way up. This is a wooden base, roughly 24 inches by 24, 3/4 inch plywood, and at each corner I got some adjustable felt tip legs for leveling. What's going to sit on top of this, and this is my sub base, and my base is actually going to be a 20 inch by 20 inch, 3/4 inch plywood. This is going to do two functions. One is going to house my tree, a standard tree turnstile that's going to be located within the base here, as well as the top, which comes off, is going to act as a load bearing to carry all the weight from everything up above. So once I started putting this together, I found out that using 3/4 inch plywood, PVC pipes, and fittings, that this tree village started to get fairly heavy. So instead of putting all the loading onto the traditional tree turnstile, I wanted to put the loading onto this base area here. And the reason and how I'm doing that is by using a Lazy Susan hardware that I'm illustrating in red here. And this is going to carry the load for all these accessories up above here, including all the things that I'm going to put on the shelf. So this is going to carry, the Lazy Susan hardware is going to carry the load, transfer the load to the top of the base cabinet, and then the base cabinet is going to carry the load and transfer it down to the floor. Therefore, my turnstile, my traditional tree turnstile function is only to rotate this and not to carry the downward loading. And I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 levels. The first levels I made out of, I took a 48 inch, 3/4 inch plywood and routed it to a circle. All three of these that are shown in orange are actually circle shelves that I've carved out using my a router jig. But the first level is 40 inches. It's going to house my village area in this area here. Then I'm going from this level to the next level, which is 32 inch, followed by a 24 inch, and followed by my top one, which is 16 inch. Now the total height of this is going to be roughly 81 inches from the base here all the way to the top, which is roughly 7 feet, almost 7 feet. Now if I wanted to make it even taller, all I had to do was take another extension here, add it up here, and then probably, since I'm dropping down in increments of 8 inches from 40, 32, 24, 16, the next one would be 8 inches up here. So that would be my top shelf, and that would add more height if that's what I'm looking for. But measuring this along with the tree topper within my home, this is going to be sufficient for my application. Things that you see here, which is very hard to see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. These are actually scheduled, they call them Schedule 40 PVC flanges that I bought online. And I'm using those flanges to fasten to my 3/4 inch plywood shelves, shown here in orange, and connecting between them a 2-inch PVC pipe, standard PVC pipe that you find in your hardwares and big box stores in your plumbing department. That's going to give me the separation between one level versus the next level versus the next level versus the next level. These were purchased online, and only thing you just search for is a Schedule 40 2-inch PVC pipe flange. Now I end up getting the 2-inch, but they also come in an 1.5 inches and a 3-inch. So I did buy a set of 3 inches. They're a little too big for this project here. I ended up selling on the 2 inch, but looking back, I probably could have got by with an inch and a half, which would have saved a few pennies here and there. Each one of these flanges costs roughly $2.40. That compared to a traditional steel pipe floor flange that you find in the plumbing sections, that usually costs about $4 to $5 each. So you are saving something here. Plus, you're minimizing your weight by using PVC pipe instead of steel pipe and steel flanges. So this is basically what it is. I got 5 inches height for my sub base, 12 inches height for my base, my Lazy Susan hardware, my tree turnstile, which is located within the base. I got 3/4 inch plywood separated by 16 inches to the next level, 3/4 inch plywood separated to the next level by 16 inches, 3/4 inch plywood, and finally separated by the next one with just a single support configuration, another 16 inch. And then I'm guessing my topper, which I'm going to use a tree type, which is really a smaller tree, is actually going to be roughly 16 inches tall. So that's what's giving me my 81 inches or almost 7 feet height. For my shelf, I used 3/4 inch plywood, but I could have used a 1/2 inch MDF. And if I went to the MDF, it would have been a 1/2 inch ultralight MDF, which would have been much lighter than standard MDF. This project I'm going to make is going to be a DIY Christmas village tree. I've already pre-cut some of the parts, and it's going to be in various part videos, just because I think of the length of it. But part one is going to consist of the base. Part two will probably be the turnstile, and part three will be the tree itself, the village tree itself. So I've pre-cut a lot of the components, and basically my base is going to be out of 2.5. All of my thicknesses are 2.5 inch wide, using 3/4 inch plywood, just standard grade, because this is going to be a base. It's going to be painted, but all of my ends are going to be 24-inch long. I have corners, and I also have ends associated with that. Everything has been pre-cut. Everything has been pre-cut, and here are some cleats for the shelf. What I've already done as well, I've developed the floor to the base and pre-mounted a rotating Christmas tree stand that's going to be mounted in the base. So let's start off, like I said, with part one and do some assembling of this, and you'll see as I progress through it how this is going to look. People you see on YouTube are making these, but they're stationary. I'm going to try to make one that actually revolves. So what I'm using here is a typical revolving Christmas tree stand, and what I've done to it is here I added, instead of the tree stalk going in here, I actually put in a 1-inch galvanized pipe and threaded to it a wall flange, a 1-inch wall flange. What I actually did, maybe you can see it here, is to keep it from coming out, I drilled it, tapped it, and put in a hard-cased screw as a set screw to keep it from unscrewing by itself. This is one of these plastic tree revolvers, and what I did here, I'll show you once we get into the box what this fits in to conceal it, is this usually comes with the 4 legs, and sitting on top of this is going to be a Lazy Susan configuration. Here, this is part of the Lazy Susan top, and this is the bottom. This part here actually fits on top of the enclosure box, which we'll get to. But the way this is supposed to work is that this is going to connect to the bottom using 1/4-inch machine threaded screws. And the way this goes is that this goes this way. The only thing you have to do is think of this as a typical Lazy Susan, with the Lazy Susan hardware here. This fits over it. And what I've done is I actually made probably like a 5-inch diameter hole just to enable the flange to fit through it. Okay, now I basically have a typical Lazy Susan. So now this is, again, this is the Christmas tree turner. This sits into, I'm only using 2 bolts, but you can use the 4 bolt holes if you want to. But again, the purpose of this is to spin it, not to carry the weight. And that's the reason why I'm depending on the Lazy Susan to carry the weight of the Christmas village tree rather than the turner carrying a weight. And the reason why I'm putting this in here finger tight is I wanted to have some flexibility as far as floating. I don't want it to be a real stiff, constrained movement, all to try to minimize any axial or lateral loading onto the turner. I'm going to use some double nuts just to act as lock nuts to keep it from coming loose. So this is sitting upside down, and in reality it's actually going to sit like so. And just for demonstration purposes, I just got some hex bolts on here, but I'm going to end up putting in some bolts that is going to be surface smooth, so I don't have any problems as far as putting my first village shelf, which is roughly 40 inches in diameter, on top of this. Plug it in, and let's put a little bit of weight on it. And let's take a look at the inside. For my camera mount. Again, here is going to be where my first village shelf is going to be mounted, and I've painted them already. This concludes part 1. Look out for part 2 and 3 as I continue to evolve this project to completion and seeing the final product of my Christmas tree stand, or I should say my revolving Christmas tree stand village.